Hello everyone. In the previous video we started chapter 2nd, The Lost Spring by Anis Jung, and today in this video we will continue the story. So let's start. In the backyard where lived the new priest, there were red and white plastic chairs. A young boy dressed in a grey uniform, wearing socks and shoes, arrived painting and threw his school bag on a folding bed, looking at the boy. I remembered the prayer another boy had made to the goddess when he had finally got a pair of shoes. Let me never lose them. The goddess had granted his prayer. Young boys like the son of priest now wore shoes, but many others, like the rag pickers in my neighborhood, remained shoeless. Writer further explains that in the backyard, a priest was living there who had red and white plastic chairs. So it means we can say the priest was not so poor, and there came a young boy who was wearing grey uniform. It means he was returning from his school, and he also had shoes. So arrived painting, and he threw his bag, his school bag, on a folding bed. And when the writer looked at that boy, she remembered an old story. In that one, a boy made some prayer before God and demanded for new pair of shoes. But now when that boy got the shoes, he made another prayer for not losing those shoes again. So in this way, some young boys, like the son of priest, got shoes. But what about the boys? What about the rag picker boys of the neighborhood of the writer? They were still shoesless. Clear? My acquaintance with the barefoot rag pickers leads me to Simapuri, a place on the periphery of Delhi, yet miles away from it. Metaphorically, those who live there are squatters who come from Bangladesh back in 1971. Okay. The acquaintance of the writer, familiarity of writer with the barefooted boys who were doing the work of rag picking, searching something in the garbage, forced the writer to visit Simapuri. That was the place. It was on the outer side of Delhi, yet it was far away from Delhi. And there lived some people who came from Bangladesh in 1971 when there was some warlike situation in Bangladesh. Then they took shelter in India. Sahab's family is among them. Simapuri was then a wilderness. It still is, but it is no longer empty. At that time, Simapuri was quite just like a forest. Not so many people were living there. Not so much development was there. So it was just like a wilderness situation. But today that is too much developed area, and so many people are living there. So it is connected to Delhi nowadays. In structures of mud with roofs of tin and tarpaulin, devoid of sewage, drainage or running water, live 10,000 rag pickers. what the writer saw there? Writer noticed that around 10,000 rag pickers were living there in their muddy houses, on which sometimes tin or tarpaulin was used as the roof of those houses. So they were living in mud, dusty areas where no proper drainage system was available. So it was quite a filthy area where those rag pickers, 10,000 rag pickers were living. They had lived there for more than 30 years without an identity, without permits, but with ration cards get their names on boards, lists, and enables them to buy grain. Okay, food is more important for survival than an identity. So those people were living there in the Simapuri area for more than 30 years. Still they did not get any identity. Still they did not get any right, human right. But there was only one good thing with them, that they got their names on ration cards. And that enabled them to be on the voter list, to make their name enrolled in the voter list and buy grains. And one more important thing is told by the writer, that grains, it means food to eat, is more important than any other identity. So when we are alive, then we can get identity. That's why food is more important than any other identity. If at the end of the day we can feed our families and go to bed without an aching stomach, we would rather live here than in the fields that gave us no grains, says a group of women in tattered saris when I asked them why they left their beautiful land of green fields and rivers. So when the writer encountered a group of women who were wearing tattered saris, means torn saris, there were holes and patches in saris, why you left the house, why you left your native house, your native green fields? So those women answered that here they were getting food to eat. They were not sleeping empty stomach. They were not sleeping without eating food. But in their original homes in Bangladesh, no doubt they were living in green fields, there were rivers, but their fields were not yielding food for them. So there they remain hungry. Even they were living in the fields, but they remain hungry. And here in Simapuri, where they have no land to grow crops, still they feed themselves as well as the members of their family. So in short, they answered that here they were getting food to eat, and that's why they were staying there. And wherever they find food, they will pitch their tents and become transit homes. Children grew up in them, becoming partners in survival, and survival in Simapuri means rag picking. Okay. So those people who came from Bangladesh, whenever and wherever they got favorable situations, favorable conditions for getting food, they made their tents there and started living there. And in those tents, those transit homes, they shared their weal and woes. They helped one another, and they led their life happily, but not prosperly, but they were happy as they were getting food there, and they shared all the experiences of life with one another. Though the years it has acquired the proportion of a fine art gaves to them is gold. It is their daily bread, a roof over their head, even if it is a leaking roof. But for a child, it is even more. So, though the years it has acquired the proportions, it means they were doing the same job for the years, so they became experienced. It became an art for them. Garbage or rag picking became an art for them, and gaves to them was gold. So they were getting money from rag pickings. They were earning money from rag pickings. That's why gaves became gold for them. And gaves meant everything: food for them, shelter for them, home for them, roof for them. Even the roof was leaking, but the garbage was most important for them. I sometimes find a rupee, even a 10 rupee note, Sahib says, his eyes lightening up, when you can find a silver coin in a heap of garbage. You don't stop scrowning, for there is hope of finding more. Okay. Then Sahib said that sometimes he gets a rupee, a coin of a rupee, even a coin of 10 rupees, and rarely he gets a coin that was of silver. And he had chances for getting much more than that one. So when you get any silver coin from the garbage, then do not stop yourself for searching more than that. So it seems that for children, garbage has a meaning different from that what it means to their parents. For the children, it is wrapped in wonder. For the elder, it is a means of survival. So the garbage has two different meanings, one for children and another for the parents. For children, garbage means surprises. Garbage means something other than living. And for parents, it was meant the livelihood. Means they were earning livelihood from that garbage. So for children, it was surprise, and for elder one, for parents, it was livelihood. So dear students, today up to this much. In our next class, we will continue the story. Till then, keep learning, keep watching videos, and if you have any doubt, then you can ask through either comment box or you can contact me. Okay, bye bye, take care.